Alright guys, on C4 On Demand and the various internet forums that this will be shared on. I'm here with Marvin. We've had our study group practice today with Francois, new study group member, and his son Alex. And I wanted to talk a little bit about my understanding so far of engaging the point of contact and engaging centers in order to manipulate the mass. And then also how that knowledge affects things like chin up. Alright, so if you would, just take a stance. Alright, and so when we engage to get a hold of Marvin, I can't simply just touch him here. I have to start here. I have to start at the point of contact, but I have to recognize something about the point of contact, that it's a sphere. I have to get to the center of that point of contact. And I have to recognize the centers that all line up in order to get a hold of his body. And so this center engages the center of this angle to control the arm. So you can see this is just one center. This is two centers. You can see it's affecting his mass a little bit. He can feel different things. It's getting a hold of his shoulders. And the rule in Elig Chin is to always direct the force onto the center line. And so once I've gotten this, I also do this. And now he can feel that that's attacking him here and here at the upper control point. So that if I project into that feeling, it affects his entire structure. He moves. If I only do the first center and I do the same exact thing, not a lot. If I do the same thing, but I only do it to the second center, it gets something. As soon as I get to the upper control point, boom, 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 directed onto the mass, and then I project, it affects him more dramatically. But then we can drop a little bit lower to where I'm engaging these centers, but I'm also engaging what to me at this point feels like engaging the lower mass. It makes it feel like a full sphere here, so that when I'm touching here, and then when I project, it affects more of his body. It feels like it gets all the way to his feet. Do you feel like that gets more to your feet?
Yeah, felt more lifted up.
He feels like he starts to float when I engage him in this way. So as soon as I'm touching him, and as soon as I do that, he feels like he's floating. And this gets into where you can get into lighter and lighter touch. Now granted, he's my training partner. He knows what we're going for. And he's being purposely rigid in order to let me feed this and give a demonstration of it. But if I just use fingertips in order to engage all these centers, and I overtly absorb and then project, you see parts of his structure start to collapse. And Marvin's a strong guy, and so if he were to relax a little bit in order to have better structure, and then I were to just push on him, and I were to really push hard, be strong, be as strong as you can. It takes some force. So now if we were to get into a shoving match or something like that, and he was pushing back into me, I can overpower him a little bit, but he's a strong guy. But we go back to this light touch. If I engage all the centers to where I feel like I'm touching a sphere, the same thing goes for absorbing. If I can feel like I've pierced here and then I absorb, it's no problem. If I don't engage in that same kind of way, if I simply touch here and then I absorb, he can resist that. And yes, the trick is to be able to do this while in motion. I'm just a beginner. But you can see though that when I get it a bit more correct and I relax and then I drop, he doesn't have nearly as much to deal with. Now, what does this have to do with chin off? With chin off, let's say I do just a rudimentary wrist lock like this. You can see he's fairly, give me a leg slap when you're at the end there. All right, so I can do quite a lot to him here. All right, so, but if I recognize the mechanism of the arm, and I think, sequences of action, and I think about centers, I don't have to get nearly as much movement before it gets a hold of his entire structure. And so when I think about centers, I'll go to the other arm. All right, so same thing, if I do this, and I'm trying to get pain compliance. Get over here, and I'm only thinking about pain compliance. That's one thing. But if I can recognize the centers of the joints, thanks a lot, Francois. When I recognize the centers of the joints, the smallest little movement really gets a hold of his entire person. His whole structure is affected. I'll do it one more time. Was I in the shot then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Same thing if we go to the outside. If I'm just going for pain compliance and I'm just twerking on this wrist until it starts to hurt, that's one thing. But if I recognize the wrist, elbow, and shoulder relationship, it doesn't take nearly as much. Yes, it's a change in vectors. Yes, it's a change in awareness. But you can see this is a very different thing. Now, did those hurt?
Yeah.
Were they a pain compliance thing, or did you feel like it was just?
No, I started moving. Pain would be an after effect of holding the stretch.
Right,
Yeah.
but you're stretched in a way that it throws your whole body off, right? Okay, so that's us talking about centers, how it affects the structure, how it affects application of force, because as Sifu says all the time, it's not so much about the force, it's the application of the force, and how it applies to Chin-Ah, at my current understanding, and a little bit of Francois' finger. So.